headache for people to get to our service this morning, so we'll start about 5 after the hour. Appreciate your patience and you being here, and be grateful you didn't get caught in traffic.
Boy, that sure brings up, you're going through that, sure brings up a lot of
Oh my God.
awful feelings.
I want to say hello.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing really good, really good. Oh, the three things I traveled to this summer was, I went to France for 10 days and out the Danube to Budapest for 10 days and saw two of the people we taught with 35 years ago.
Wow.
And then I went to my hometown where they did that thing where scholarship was named after me. And what was nice, I went with my youngest stepson, who's 52, on one trip, and my regular son on the other trip, and he's 61, and with my daughter and she's 63. And they all were really very nice trips. I mean, they treated me like a good guy.
Yeah, good.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so it was really memorable.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I know you're busy thinking.
We're getting close.
Anyway, and you're on kind of a semi-sabbatical,
Yeah.
but you still have to work.
It's strange, isn't it? It's the only way I can do
It's
it.
kind of different.
It says you can have a sabbatical as long as you keep working.
Quasi-sabbatical.
Quasi-sabbatical.
How long does that take?
Through June.
Are you doing the memorial services?
I am.
You know, like Dawn was saying?
Lila's. I mean, I just don't know what's going on with Lila. Her son's kind of like took it over. I didn't take it, John, and I said, if I can do anything, let me know.
Yeah,
He said something about me speaking or something, so we'll see.
okay, yeah. But it's here, it is here, it's not the church, yeah.
Three sons who are strong personality.
Yeah, well, they certainly are, absolutely. I know Jonathan the best.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, the others I know as well. I just get a pang every time I drive to Perry, go to the Perry Library. Driving down South Perry, neither of them are alive. Just like sparks going out. And then Donna, that was so fast. She was at our last endowment meeting, like, 20 days before she died.
Shifted because she's seen for all
Yes, she did. Yeah. I didn't know about her.
What's that?
Test.
Ready?
All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to sing Spirit of Life. If you could stand and sing with us.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. Appreciate you waiting a few minutes extra to get started this morning. Apparently some of you probably ran into some traffic out there. Yeah? I'm told, what was it, Junior Bloomsday. So Bloomsday is so big that they have to have one for juniors. Yeah. Next Sunday will be seniors. Sophomore was last week. Yeah, okay. I'm glad we all have the same twisted sense of humor, or dad's sense of humor, whatever it is. Punish sense of humor. Well, anyway, we're glad to have you. So we may get a few folks coming in, and thanks to the folks who are live streaming with us for giving it a few extra minutes as well. Want to formally welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane by stating our mission statement as we do each Sunday. UUCS is a place where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we like to say in short, to create community, find meaning, and live justly or work for justice, either one. Actually do both, but we just say one because we're crazy. We're crazy that way. Well, welcome again to each and every one of you. We're so glad to have all of you here, whether you are regular attendees or perhaps visiting and joining us for the first time. You're equally as welcome. We begin our services by embracing all that you come with, your unique beliefs and background and lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. So thanks so much for being here. This includes those of you who are in the room with us, as well as the many of you who are live streaming it with us today. Wherever you're at this morning, we're so glad to have you here with us as well. Just a couple of quick announcements. One, there it is. You see the PFAS is basically shorthand for plastics in the Spokane River. There's going to be a free public meeting on it here at our church tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And so if you want to put that on your calendars or attend, this is an organization that is trying to bring attention to the PFAS pollution in the Spokane River, particularly in the West Hills neighborhood. So if you want to learn more about it and perhaps what you can do to help solve the problem, be here tomorrow night at 7. Yeah, and the other announcement I would make this morning is that we are still in the, actually I should say, there are some new images in the back of the sanctuary that Dan, where's Dan? There's Dan Ekert, that Dan Ekert put up. There's an explanation of those, but several years ago, we were on the cusp of needing to create more space. And after some imagination and planning and talking as a congregation, there were several who donated the funds to have a professional architectural firm draw up potential designs for what it might look like. And to my dismay, they've been locked up for far too long. And we think it is important, particularly at this time of the year when we're talking about pledging or contributing to our church, to remember that it's okay to have a vision, to dream big about our future together as a congregation, a historic congregation in this community. So, we're not saying these are the plans we're going to do. Please give us, what is it, probably a $2 million project now, Dan, if not more. Can you cough that up for us? No. We just wanted to put them out and just envision together, our longevity in this community, our success in this community. So I hope you'll look at them. They're quite beautiful and inspirational. So thank you, Dan, for putting those up and the write-up explaining the history of them. But we are in the midst of our annual generosity campaign. And this is where we do ask you to consider what you can and will contribute to us for the following year, and make a pledge if you can, so that we can budget accordingly. We do have certain fixed costs in addition to our dreams that we do have to figure out a way to cover each year, and your generosity is a big part of that. But this isn't just about keeping the lights on, and we often sound apologetic when we ask for money, right? That so we ought to pay the electric bills, so would you please? No, we've got a near 140-year history in this community, in this world, as a very unique Unitarian congregation that has been making history throughout our time here, and shall continue to do so. It's a history that we can be proud of. It has been on the cutting edge of the issue, the right side of the issues, even before it was considered the right side throughout our history. And we want to continue to do so, and that's why we're here, and that's why we support it. So thank you everyone for pledging, those who have pledged so far, and if you're interested in pledging, you can fill out a pledge form in the back or easily do so online. So thank you. Those of you who are doing so, watching online right now, we also appreciate your generosity. Okay. Let's see. I think I've got a longer sermon than usual today. I'm sorry. It's not terribly longer, but it's a little bit longer. So since everybody seems comfortable and you've had to fight traffic and you're sitting down, let's forego the getting up and greeting one another now, as important as that can be. And we will have more opportunity to do that during our social hour immediately following the service. But I would like to move forward now by lighting our chalice, which is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Although many of this year's political storms seem unprecedented, we've been through an assault on liberal values and threatened authoritarianism many times before in our history, an assault that has led us to question and perhaps redefine our religious values. I'll skip the 19th century, but we saw the pendulum swing in the 1960s following the assassination of President Kennedy, after Congress enacted several progressive programs, Medicare, the Civil Rights Act, and the Voting Rights Act. A bitter debate over the Vietnam War sparked an assault on liberalism and a backlash that led to the election of Richard Nixon. During this tumultuous decade, Unitarian Universalist minister Dr. George Marshall wrote the book Challenge of a Liberal Faith. A Montana native and a close friend of Dr. Albert Schweitzer, Marshall ministered to the Church of the Larger Fellowship from 1960 to 1985. He died in 1993. In his book, he asked the question, who is a Unitarian Universalist? He or she, wrote Marshall, is a free-thinking adherent, is a free thinker who would be considered a heretic, radical, infidel, or nonconformist in other churches. Being independent in thought, he or she is also basically an anti-institutionalist who, nevertheless, has combined with others of like mind to develop and maintain an institution based on individual freedom, convinced that the nurture of the free mind is necessary for the improvement of the human lot. Does this definition still apply to today's UU Church in today's tumultuous society? Reverend Todd Eckloff will explore that question this morning.
All right, join us in singing Where is Our Holy Church? 113.
Thank you. We're going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. And I did not receive any special request from our members, but I imagine those of us here, like people around the planet, are feeling a lot of anxiety this week. It seems to get worse each week, so we almost have to light a candle for ourselves constantly. But I do want to acknowledge that these are anxious times for a lot of people, for a lot of our brothers and sisters everywhere on the planet. And we are lighting a candle, thinking of everyone at this time. And a candle, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia and that region of the world that are suffering from the war and the violence that's going on there for far too long, as well as the people of Israel and our Palestinian brothers and sisters who are suffering from the terrible violence and injustices that are going on there. Let's take a moment of silence, embracing others who might be on your hearts and minds, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And before we take up our offering, I noticed Jacob's here with some special guests. Jacob, do you want to? Yeah, welcome to our space. Yeah, who do we have here?
Oh yeah, so sorry we didn't mean to interrupt you, Sean. We're doing an event later today at 1:30.
Oh, okay.
Our good friends, our good relatives, Freddie and Helch Quilton came from Lummi Nation on the coast. They organized an event. It's a traditional paddle through the San Juan Islands. Some of you all might know Freddie. He did the totem pole journeys that came.
Yeah, that came a few years ago. Yeah.
In the past, and so Freddie is an amazing organizer, friend of mine. They brought the Eagle staff along with an elder, Helch Quilton, to come and talk to the community about doing a paddle through the San Juan Islands in next month with a group of international wisdom keepers and the coastal relatives along with our Hawaiian youth family for a full week. And so he came out to invite the local EDU community to join the paddle with us.
Yay.
Yeah, for those of you
Oh, we're so honored. We're so honored to have you here. It's a blessing to have you, and we remember the blessing that we received when you were here with the totem pole journey so many years ago now. Thank you so much. So.
Hey Sam, so good to be back with you tonight. Also, during your moment of silence, thinking about, just want to add, we remember as human beings, our relatives, the mountains, the forests, the rivers, and your beautiful Spokane River that we came over, that we continue to come together to save it for all the kids here so they have good, clean drinking water.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We're here at 1:30. You're all welcome. We'll do a little presentation. We've got the Gathering of Eagles coming up May 17th through the 26th.
Great.
Our Hawaiian relatives are coming. Our Maori relatives are coming they live in Australia. And our South African relatives are coming. So it's an intergenerational, cultural event. So everybody's welcome. I'm two-spirited, so my cousin Richard Quilton here has been coming on the journey. It's a little canoe journey, so we're just it's more of a personal invite rather than just posting up a poster.
Yay! Yeah.
Sure
Much better than a poster. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. Yeah. Well, we'll try to be done by 1:30 so that you can start on time. But actually, I want to take just a little bit more time because Jacob's here, and I know you're not going to be here with us next week. We're going to be having a very special collection next week on, yes.
We postponed that to next month.
Oh, you postpone it till next month?
This month is Jewish Voices for Peace.
Okay, so it's not going to be next week. Okay. Well, anyway, Jacob, will you be here for that next month, or do you know?
I don't know. I just couldn't do the May 23rd thing. I'll be here. I can zoom in at any point.
Okay, because we want you to be able to share a little bit about that opportunity. In essence, as many of you know, the name of this street, which was once Fort George Wright, was changed just a few years ago after a lot of effort over the years to try to make that happen. And there's people in the community Jacob's involved with who want to actually put up a monument now that honors the history and the trauma of this land, and even contain it on our property, but it would be something that the community could come to. And we're going to be raising funds for that, and there's a mock-up of what it might look like and that sort of stuff. So that's just a teaser, but Jacob will tell us more. What's that?
I can just say a little bit. So
Come up here. Do you mind using the microphone? We don't have a lot of time, but I want to give you some time because this is, in the Baptist church, you just keep going until you're done. So,
right, yeah, sorry. So we had worked for years to change the street name, which we successfully did with help from the congregation, a lot of community partners. And in so doing, we convinced the city to give us the signs of the old George Wright signs. And so they're massive signs. And for the past couple of years, we've been raising money to pay for a sculpture to made out of the signs to really represent how community can come together to right the wrongs of our shared past. and to grow something and create something new out of it. And so we raised $5,000 by selling these land back jerseys over the course of 3 years, 4 years. And now we need to finish it and make it massive, and we're going to put it here at the church. So just a real quick teaser.
Pronounce the proper name of the street?
Wish Docks. Wish Docks. Yeah. Yeah. It's WHISTALKS. You want to say wish, but it's Wish Docks, yeah. And it's named after the wife of one of the was it the wife of the chief who was hung by George Wright, I should say. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that would be beautiful for us to be involved in. Thank you for the invitation of, yes, thank you, absolutely. Great to have you, and I'm glad we took a little bit of extra time now. So we should take up this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world. So thank you all for standing for so long while we were spontaneous. Amazing. Amazing. God. I've always got to try to follow our musicians with something. So, sorry to let you down. But it is time for our story for all ages, and for anyone who'd like to come up front and enjoy our children's moment, you're welcome to. It's good to see you guys. Yeah. All right. Yeah, got a good group coming up. Okay, well, as always, I brought a friend to help me, so give me just a minute. Oh my goodness, look who it is. It's my friend Charlie McCarthy. Charlie, how are you? Oh, I'm not doing so well. You're not doing so. What's wrong? Are you in pain? Well, I'm miserable. I'm just miserable, I tell you. Well, I'm very sorry. What's the problem? I have a terrible headache. Oh, a headache. Well, when did it start? It started when I got a toothache. Okay, well, you've got a toothache and a headache. Have you been to the dentist yet? Oh, no, just thinking of going to the dentist is what gave me the headache. I see. Well, you don't have to worry about the dentist, Charlie. They're going to fix you up in no time. And these days, they've got lots of ways to make sure that you don't feel any pain in the process. Are you sure? Of course I am. So why don't you let me have a look, and I'll see if I can figure out what's going on. Say ah. Open and say ah. Ah. Oh, I think I see the problem, Charlie. What is it? Well, it looks like you have a very small cavity that needs to be filled. And so I think that's not going to be any big problem. That's it. That's all it is. It'll be taken care of in no time. Oh, that's a relief. My tooth still hurts, but my head is starting to feel better. Well, I'm glad that it is. And next time, please don't wait until the pain gets worse. Pain is there to let us. Brother, here it comes. Here what comes? Today's life lesson. Now, Charlie, come on. I'm just saying that when we suffer or see other people suffering and don't do anything about it, it only gets worse. Whether it's a toothache or people suffering from poverty or hunger, or who don't have the opportunity to go to a dentist or to a doctor when they're hurting. So it's up to us to pay attention and do what we can to help. Oh, doesn't your sermon start later in the service? Yes, Charlie. I just wanted you to understand that we don't have to settle for pain. We can help by doing something about it. Right, guys? While the world may never be perfect, we can make it better than it is now by caring about and helping others. Do you feel better now? Well, Charlie, actually, now that you mention it, I have a little toothache coming on myself. Really? Yes, and perhaps we should go to the dentist together tomorrow. Well, why don't you let me have a look? Well, let you have a look. What do you know about dentistry? Now, you just said when we see others in pain, we have to do what we can to help. So open the light and say, ah. Okay. Ah. Oh, I think I see the problem. Well, what is it? Is it serious? Looks like you have athlete's foot. Athlete's foot? Charlie, that's ridiculous. Why would I have athlete's foot in my mouth? For putting your foot in your mouth too much. Oh. I guess I walked right into that one, huh, Charlie? My headache has suddenly restarted. I think it's time for me to go. Well, all right, Charlie. Get some rest, and we'll both go to the dentist tomorrow. Thank you.
As we enter into meditation, I invite you to get comfortable, breathe deeply, and consider these words from Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The church must be reminded that it is not the master or the servant of the state, but rather the conscience of the state.
If you ever change your mind about leaving me behind, baby, bring it to me. Bring your sweet loving. Bring it on home to me, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know I laughed when you left, but now I know I only hurt myself. Oh, won't you bring it to me? Bring your sweet loving. Bring it on home to me, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll give you jewelry and money too. That ain't all I'm gonna do. Oh, bring it to me. Bring your sweet loving. Bring it on home to me, yeah. Oh, yeah. One more thing. I tried to treat you right, but you stayed out all night. Oh, won't you forgive me? Bring your sweet loving. Bring it on home to me, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All I can say is look out Batman, look out Robin. There is another dynamic duo in town. So my interest in ventriloquism, for those wondering, began with my early childhood affection for Edgar Bergen's famous dummy, Charlie McCarthy. Oh, it's okay, you'll be all right. Charlie's long era of fame was already waning when I discovered him in the late 1960s, when I was about 5 years old, by watching an occasional rerun of his old movies dating back to the 1930s and 40s. After he was fabricated in 1922, which I think makes him the oldest person in the room, Bergen took Charlie on the road and became a successful vaudeville act. So successful that in 1937 they were invited to join the Chase and Sanborn Hour, a popular variety show broadcast during the golden age of radio. And they remained one of the radio's top programs, often its #1 show, for almost 20 years, into the 1950s. The pair were among the most famous celebrities in the world, having performed alongside guests renowned as Groucho Marx, Mae West, Frank Sinatra, Liberace. Charlie even had a mock wedding once with Marilyn Monroe, and he actually met with the Queen of England. It's world-renowned. He and Bergen also starred in several movies. They had a TV show during television's early years, and eventually even received an honorary Oscar, carved out of wood, just like Charlie. Edgar Bergen died while performing one last time at Caesar's Palace in 1978. And today, the original Charlie McCarthy puppet is propped up behind glass at the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of American History. A once famous figure, now forgotten by at least a couple of generations. So it's fitting that he has a place at the Smithsonian, honoring a time in American history when Charlie McCarthy was the most famous and beloved household name in the country. Can you imagine that? A ventriloquist dummy who became an unlikely celebrity on the radio? The duo's important role in American history was amplified by those Bergen and McCarthy programs that aired during World War II. They were packed with patriotic songs, encouragement to buy bonds, calls for scrap metal collection, conserving limited resources, writing letters to servicemen, and offering inspirational words about America and its great values. At the end of one of the episodes, for example, the program's official host, the talented actor, singer, and dancer Don Amici, an Oscar winner himself, said the following: "We are a nation founded on freedom, a freedom guaranteed by a document known to the world as the Constitution of the United States. We of the United States are justly proud of our Constitution, and it has been called the most perfect plan of liberty ever devised by man. And yet its power lies in its simplicity, a simplicity that begins with its first 3 words, we the people. Through all our struggles to become a free nation, we remain we the people. Tyrants have sought to conquer us before, but we have conquered the tyrants and remain we the people. And now, once again, we have set our course. We the people have decided that our children and their children shall remain free as we were free before them. That, as our enemies must learn to know, is what we mean by we the people." These are inspiring sentiments that must have motivated listeners to remain resolute despite many difficulties associated with being a nation in war. And there is much truth to them. Yet it is difficult for honest people to know this country's history and not remember that it has also been a nation built on the beaten backs of slaves, on the cheap and tireless labor of kidnapped orphans and indentured servants and exploited Chinese immigrants, none of whom were allowed the freedom and dignity we the people like to claim this country is founded upon. This is so because they, among others, like women and indigenous persons, simply weren't considered people. Not really. Social psychologist Erich Fromm offers a possible explanation for what appears to us now as a blatant acts of hypocrisy and inhumanity. In his exhaustive study on human aggression, Fromm says, we have to begin with the consideration that for primitive man, the stranger, the person who does not belong to the same group, is often not felt as a fellow man, but as something with which one does not identify. This may be so because, unlike other animals, humans have lost the instinctive ability to recognize other members of our own species as such. Man does not recognize or identify co-species as easily as other animals, Fromm says. For him, different language, customs, dress, and other criteria perceived by the mind rather than by instincts determine who is a co-species and who is not. And any group which is slightly different is not supposed to share the same humanity. So we can mistreat and misuse other human beings, even go to war with them, because of their ideological, cultural, national, physical, and other perceived differences, because we do not accept them as human. Not really. This is the entire basis of racism, that there are different races of humankind, which is simply untrue. All humans are more closely related to each other than any other kind of animal on the planet. Which is why over time, as our accepted circles of inclusion are widened, subsequent generations realize how wrong and unjust it was for their predecessors to have mistreated those now accepted with such cruelty and indignity. In an episode only a week before Don Amici gave his inspiring speech about we the people and our nation being founded upon freedom, Edgar and Charlie had just returned from entertaining the troops in northern Alaska. In addition to a few corny jokes about bringing back blubber so they could chew the fat, Don Amici asked, "Charlie, did you by any chance see any Japs up there in Dutch Harbor?" "Well, I tell you, Don," Charlie said, "it was very foggy out there. It was oh so foggy up there. It really was too foggy to see them, but I could smell them." To which the audience laughed. Then Amici said, "They tell me those Japs are pretty hard to find. I hear they're disguising themselves as human beings." To which someone else replied, "Well, they'll never get away with that." To which the audience laughed. As much as I enjoy listening to these old radio shows, this bit certainly caught my attention. Unlike its original audience, as a contemporary man, I found these remarks disturbing and not funny in the least. But I do not look backward and judge those who laughed then by today's standards, which have evolved, at least partly because of their mistakes, just as tomorrow's generation hopefully will evolve because of our mistakes. Instead, I try to understand their roots, to avoid repeating the errors of the past. Again, Fromm, my go-to luminary on the subjects of human psychology and sociology, says, "All governments try, in the case of war, to awaken among their own people the feeling that the enemy is not human. It seems almost a rule when one wants to make it easier for one's own side to destroy living beings of the other, to indoctrinate one's own soldiers with the feeling that those to be slaughtered are non-persons. But it's not just governments that do so. Our entire culture is often involved in the same dehumanizing environment and scheme, whether consciously or not. Case in point, the radio episodes that I've mentioned were originally aired in 1942. That's the same year that President Roosevelt signed Order 9066, only 2 months after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, authorizing the arrest and detention of Japanese Americans. over 120,000 of them, into internment camps, permanently robbing them of their homes, their possessions, their wealth, and more to the point, the very freedom that Don Amici had bragged America is all about. America was supposed to be better than this. Just as today we are supposed to be better than arresting and deporting legal immigrants who have exercised their freedom of speech in protest of Israel's inhumanity against the Palestinians living in Gaza. We're supposed to be better than kidnapping students with legal visas off our streets, placing them in chains and exiling them from our country. We're supposed to be better than disappearing hundreds based on unproven charges and sending them to foreign hardcore prisons without due process in violation of our own laws. As the leader of the free world and having benefited the most from our global economy, we are supposed to be better than exploiting the poorest nations on earth while falsely claiming that we're being ripped off by the entire world. As individual Americans, we're supposed to be better than attacking the character and threatening the livelihoods of those we disagree with. We're supposed to be better than electing obvious authoritarians to lead our free nation. We're supposed to be better than denying obvious truths about vital matters like the importance of vaccines and the reality of carbon-based climate change just because truth doesn't concur with our unfounded paranoid conspiracy theories. We're supposed to be better than banning books from public schools and libraries. We're supposed to be better than judging people by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character, including, by the way, these days, white people, or who some overzealous so-called social justice warriors out there need to hear. We're supposed to be better than resegregating society based on our identity groups for those woke liberals out there. We're supposed to be better than demanding freedom for ourselves while denying it to others. For those who, for whatever reasons, are perceived to be so different from us that they are not really human beings and thus don't deserve the same rights that we expect for ourselves. The United States of America was founded upon Enlightenment principles. If you're a Unitarian, you should know them by heart, not just because I've been talking frequently about them for the past half-decade, but because they are the principles that our liberal religion is also founded upon. The most fundamental principle of them all, this will be an easy one to remember, is human dignity. That's the foundation of liberalism and our liberal religion, human dignity, which philosopher Immanuel Kant called the categorical imperative, meaning that it is unconditional in any circumstances, and is essential in all that we do. Kant defined this imperative as no person should be treated as a means to somebody else's ends, but should be considered an end within themselves. And this principle was reframed during the French Revolution in terms that we are more familiar with today as the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And as I like to add, and all peoples. The inherent worth and dignity of every person and all peoples. Japanese people, Mexican people, Palestinian people, Ukrainian people, Chinese people, Russian people, Iranian people, Canadian people, where are they? Our neighbors. Greenlander people, transgender people, Democratic people, Republican people, liberal people, conservative people, millionaire and billionaire people, poor people, Tesla driving people, and so on. All people
everywhere. As Tvetin Todorov says in his book, In Defense of the Enlightenment, those who felt imbued with the spirit of the Enlightenment cherished their belonging to the human species more than their affiliation to their country. Or as Montesquieu succinctly said, I am necessarily a man. I am French by chance. Our nation, like our liberal religion, was founded upon a belief in our common humanity and the belief that humanity is universal no matter where we are from. This is why all Americans should stand in opposition to a government that seeks to put our welfare, the welfare of only 4.3% of the world's population, above 95.7% of all the other human beings living with us on this small blue pearl that we all call our home. This is why I prefer Erich Fromm's reworking of the categorical imperative as the principle that is good, that good is what is good for humanity and evil is what is detrimental to humanity, the sole criterion of ethical value being human welfare, and the unfolding and growth of every person should be the aim of all social and political activities. And by the way, this is not an anthropocentric ethic, because it recognizes that to be a whole human, that we're dependent upon our connection to the environment, to our planet, to the world, to the rivers, to the sky, to the air, to the ground, to the other creatures. And that to fully unfold as individuals, we have to develop our capacity for empathy. We cannot be whole human beings when we torment the earth and torment other creatures. So this ethic works for those of us who care passionately about the environment. In his book, The Anatomy of Human Destructiveness, Fromm details the reasoning behind this imperative. He says, we need to create the conditions that would make the growth of mankind, this unfinished and uncompleted being, unique in nature, the supreme goal of all our social arrangements. Genuine freedom and independence, and the end of all forms of exploitive control are the conditions for mobilizing the love of life, which is the only force that can defeat the love of the dead. The latter, a necrophilious orientation, like war, as we have seen, is dependent upon dehumanizing others. The love of life, rather, a biophilious orientation, moves us to truly recognize and care for all human beings, all of whom belong to the totality of life itself. We create and maintain human dignity by upholding freedom, reason, and tolerance. Freedom is the freedom to speak, to move about, to determine one's own purpose, and to enjoy the benefits of society equally and without prejudice. Reason means more than just thinking well. Please think well. But it means more than just thinking well. It means allowing people to think for themselves no matter how much we might disagree with them. It means they don't need a church or a government authority telling them what they must and must not believe. And tolerance means we simply live and let live. And that it is our moral responsibility to protect the welfare and the rights of those we may vehemently disagree with, as much as our own. Dignity is our fundamental principle, the basis of our nation and our liberal religion, and freedom, reason, and tolerance are what such dignity looks like when it is upheld. Today we are in the midst of our church's annual generosity campaign, during which we ask our members again and our friends to please make a financial commitment to sustain the efforts of our historic community, which has a 138-year history as a radical and persistent voice of these liberal values in our community and in our world. And I hope it will continue to have such a presence for as long as is necessary. But the theme of this year's campaign comes to us in the form of a question. What brings you here? It's a challenging question because on the one hand, it invites us to consider what we like about this church, what we personally get out of being here, which might be different for many of us. But on the other hand, it asks us to consider if we're in the right place. If human dignity really is our greatest value, along with upholding freedom, reason, and tolerance necessary to create and maintain such dignity. This is what American Unitarianism is supposed to be about, although it's gotten increasingly muddled since the ill-considered entanglement with Universalism in 1961, an error that I have made it my mission to correct during these waning years of in my role as a Unitarian minister. Since the merger, both traditions have slowly transformed into frail shadows of their former selves. In the process, its adherents have become increasingly unable to articulate this new hybrid religion, Unitarian Universalism. During the past couple of decades, it has been overtaken by those who don't at all cherish our commitment to human dignity, nor to the freedom, reason, and tolerance that sustains it. 6 years ago, after I wrote and distributed a book about these concerns, I was, within hours, banned and labeled a racist, homo, and transphobic, classist, ableist, kitchen sink. Within a month, I was publicly censured by the UU Ministers Association. And by the end of the year, I was disfellowshipped by the Unitarian Universalist Association, which went on to label me as a non-cooperative, abusive bully who is ethically unfit for ministry on a new webpage it built just for me. All of this occurred without anyone to this day lifting a single sentence from my book to prove these ludicrous ad hominem assertions. The UUA's top leaders even secretly colluded with a few upset members of our own congregation to try to force me from my post. Rather than help ease tensions here, which was their responsibility, they did all of this with no concern for the welfare of our congregation, just so long as they could get rid of their pesky gadfly. No matter who they used or who they hurt, or if they split our church apart or not, they didn't care. They didn't care about my dignity or yours. They didn't value the principles of freedom and reason and tolerance that Unitarianism is founded upon, which they have since eradicated from their bylaws. Most of us well recall how difficult this was to go through, resulting in about 10% of our members splitting off. People we knew and loved, people we thought knew and loved us, but they only left after causing even worse havoc in our church than the UUA did. They wrote and distributed letters comparing me to Donald Trump, along with a letter to everyone in our congregation asking them to reduce their contributions to a bare minimum for as long as I remain in the pulpit. And if I believed it would have helped, I would have left. But I knew if I did, that the split would have been far worse. The shock, the stress, the pain, the cruelty, the grief, depression, and lies about me that I experienced was often more than I could bear. But I stuck it out because so many of you asked me to please stay. And you came to my defense to make that happen as well. Thank you. Finally, those who spat on my dignity and tried to deny my freedom to speak and reason for myself, and who proved so utterly intolerant, fled immediately after they lost the board election. And even after they had been so solidly rebuked by the great majority of our congregation, they didn't have the fortitude or moral courage to stay and look us in the eye and work out our differences. Gone. All we got was a joint letter of resignation, never to be heard of again. And I've often asked myself the very question that we're asking of them, the very question I'm asking of ourselves now: what on earth brought them here to begin with? If it wasn't human dignity, or freedom and reason and tolerance, then why be part of a Unitarian church? Once again, turning to Fromm helps me gain some insight into what may have happened. He says, it does not make any difference whether the object of one's aggression is a stranger or a close relative or friend. What happens is that the aggressor cuts the other person off emotionally and freezes him. The other ceases to be experienced as a human and becomes a thing over there. Under these circumstances, there are no inhibitions against even the most severe forms of destructiveness. And that's what I felt like, at the humanized thing over there. And when all this turmoil was going on, my late friend, the great Reverend Happy Watkins, was extremely concerned about my welfare. He even came unannounced to a Sunday service once and asked to speak to our congregation. With tears in his eyes, he said, "Please take care of this man. He's my friend, and I need him." Afterward, I reached out to hug him, and I remember collapsing in his arms for a few minutes and weeping. He later told me that the very next day, one of those wanting me to leave called him, chastised him for coming, and tried unsuccessfully to convince him what a terrible person I truly am. Sometimes Happy came to the house to check on me and Peggy, who had been just as shocked and traumatized by such cruelty as I was. After expressing her shock at some of those who had been the very worst, people we would have considered unimaginable, Happy told her, "Church people are some of the meanest people in the world." I guess ministers and faith leaders from any tradition know that this is so, that people are the same wherever you go, as the song says. There is good and bad in everyone. Still, I don't want to settle for this explanation, not in our Unitarian church, because our first principle, the thing that is supposed to bind us together, is our respect for the inherent worth and dignity of every person and all peoples. If this isn't what brings us here, if we above all cannot treat each other with respect and dignity, then we're in the wrong place. If this is the case for you, don't wait to cause a split before you split. I sometimes joke that Unitarians will entertain almost any idea but will argue over where to put the furniture. But as with Charlie McCarthy's joke about Japanese people stinking and not really being human beings, it isn't funny. It's just a way of trying to accept a reality that shouldn't be. To those who have to have their weigh on every little matter, treating those who think differently with hostility in the process, you're in the wrong place. There are plenty of places for disrespect and indignity in the world, but UUCS is not one of them. Indeed, there is no room for such indignity in Unitarianism anywhere, given that it is founded upon this categorical imperative. Human dignity equals freedom, reason, and tolerance. Freedom, reason, and tolerance add up to human dignity. Yet even now, as I work to restore our venerable tradition, I get pushback for emphasizing the centrality of these simple words: freedom, reason, tolerance. Some complain they are not spiritual enough, not inspiring enough, not attractive enough, and the like. But for those of us who are Unitarians, they are more than enough, which is what brings us here. Just as our nation cannot say it is founded upon and devoted to freedom when it dehumanizes others in order to turn them into enemies and justify exploiting them, if we can't treat others with dignity, no matter who they are, especially those within our congregations and religion, then we may be a lot of things, but we cannot claim to be Unitarians. Not really. My hope for our historic congregation is that it will be here for as long as it remains necessary to remind our community and our world of these values that we devote our lives to, values that uplift humanity and the well-being of every person and all peoples. But if we're here and not doing this, then we should be asking ourselves, what brings us here? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Benediction?
Oh, yeah, we'll just do the benediction. Sorry. We'll just, thank you. I'll just walk up here. I thought you said back action. You said benediction.
Oh, yeah. Back at you.
Okay. As we depart today and welcome spring, remember these further words from UU Minister George Marshall. The Unitarian Universalist is encouraged to hold his or her head high proudly as a member of an ongoing stream of religious liberalism that has paved the way for progressive advances throughout the centuries. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.